welcome to episode 30 of Very Fun Adventures. My name is Tanya and I am coming to you from southeast Minnesota, where my family and I run a fruit farm called Firefly Berries, where we specialize in strawberries, Concord grapes, and naturally dyed yarn. So thank you so much for joining me today. If you are a returning viewer, thank you so much for coming back. And if you are new to the channel, thank you for checking us out. So today I'm actually coming to you with a bit of a different episode. It is a project make-along specific episode. It is the Blanket Binge make-along. So let me tell you a little bit about what this is and what's going on, and I will share some of my projects that will be a part of the make-along, and hopefully you can join us when we begin. So what is the Blanket Binge make-along? Well, basically, it's a week and a half of knitting on blanket projects. So what got me thinking about this is the fact that I have currently 7 blankets on the needles or the hook. And I love knitting on my blankets. However, they're large projects and they take a long time to complete. So I find myself not making great progress on them because I just sort of sprinkle them in with everything else instead of having a focused effort on them. So I thought, what better thing to do between Christmas and New Year's than to focus on these blankets? So originally I thought I was going to only knit on blankets. Well, I don't know about you, but when I tell myself I can only do something, the next minute I'm like, well, I don't want to do that. I want to do something else. So I decided it's not going to be an only, it's going to be a mostly. So however you operate, you do you, but for me, I'm going to mostly knit on my blankets. I'm going to focus primarily on those 7 projects in hopes that I can get them progressing and in a good place for the year to start in 2023. Now, it doesn't mean you have to finish a blanket. It doesn't mean you have to start a blanket. It just means that you need to knit or crochet on a blanket of some sort. And it can be 1 blanket, it can be 2 blankets, it can be 7 blankets, it can be whatever works for you. So the rules are very simple and very loose. Just work on a blanket between December 24th and January 1st. So anytime on December 24th, you work in your own time zone. You can, if you start making on a blanket or working on something you've already started on the 24th between that Christmas Eve day and New Year's Eve day at midnight, if you work on a blanket, that means you've participated in this make-along. So you don't need to finish it, you just need to work on it. So how do you participate? Well, there's lots of ways. For one, you could just participate by yourself. You don't have to enter a comment, you don't have to go on to any other location. It can just be your own personal focus, right? It's just a little inspiration to get you going, thinking, oh yeah, Very Fun Yarns, they're working on a blanket binge right now. I'm going to try and focus on my blankets. You don't have to sign in anywhere or sign up anywhere. However, if you want to join the community, you certainly can. You can comment below this video if you want about what you're working on, how you're progressing. Maybe link a pattern that you really like. The other 2 ways would be on Discord, which I will hopefully have a Very Fun Yarns Discord server set up by the time this video goes live, and there will be a link below. If you'd like to join, we would love to have you over there in that community, and we can chat about pretty much anything. I'm starting it because of the Blanket Binge, but I'm hoping it will continue and our community can grow over there. So there'll be a Discord page, and then also if you're on Instagram and you want to hashtag the Blanket Binge, the hashtag will be BFY, Very Fun Yarns, Blanket Binge. Okay, so that link will be, or that hashtag will be below as well. And then on January 2nd, when we're done with our week and a half of blanket binging, I am going to go to Instagram and to the Discord server and pull up all the chatter. There will be a specific, so the hashtags in Instagram, and then there will be a specific thread for the Blanket Binge in the Discord channel. And I will go there and I will randomly pick a winner, maybe 2. We'll see how much participation we get, and I will be sending you a little prize package from Very Fun Yarns to thank you for participating. And that will be announced on episode 31 when I come to you in January. So yeah, so this is going to be super fun, and I really hope that we get a lot of participation because it's a great time of year if you are out and about or you're off on vacation or whatever, traveling in the car to work on some of those projects you want to see progress in. So what am I going to be working on? I'm going to share with you here a few, well not few, I'm going to share with you all 7 of the blankets I currently have on the needles or hook. And maybe one of the patterns will inspire you to start something new. And maybe it'll just inspire you to get started on your blankets. So here we go. Let's see what I've got on the needles or hook. So we'll save the Advent ones last because if you've been following my Vlogmas, you will see that I have 2 new blankets that I cast on during Advent. So blanket numero 1 is the Summer Beach Blanket, which is a mitered square blanket by Morris & Sons. And I am simply following this fairly casually. I think it's a free pattern on Ravelry. However, it has, let's see, I think it has you cast down 40 stitches for the size of your square, and I wanted it a tad bit smaller. And so I cast on 30. Now, it looks kind of boring right now, and you're probably wondering, where's the rhyme or rhythm or reason to this pattern? The colors are just sort of boring, gray and blue, and there's no pattern. Well, what I'm making with this, if you've been around before, you may have seen me talk about this. This is the beginning of a temperature blanket for my 2nd oldest son, who graduates from high school this year. I like to make the kids a nice, warm wool blanket when they graduate from high school to take with them to college in the dorm to cozy up in. And what I do is I go back to the year that they were born. So for this child in particular, it's 2004. And I start on the day they were born, and I keep track of all the temperatures. So he was born in November of 2004. So it was kind of cold. And a temperature blanket, you have a set number of degrees for each color that you use. So each square in his blanket is going to represent 1 day of his first year of life. So I don't think I have, oh yeah, I do. Let me show you. So here you can see it's kind of time consuming to write down all of the temperatures if you are doing it going back in history. If you're doing it in the present day, so say you're doing it as you're starting, maybe you start January or December 24th, you would just do it as you go, right? And do 1 blanket square a day. But so what I do is I write down the temperature, and then as I do it, I cross it out. Now, my little chart to show, this is my chart that shows how many degrees. So for 0 to 15 degrees, here in Minnesota, it gets pretty cold. So 0 to 15 degrees is the color Merino. So I've picked Wool of the Andes Superwash because it is a hardy Peruvian wool that washes well, and you can dry it in the dryer, and it is still cozy and warm and woolly. So for each like 10 to 15 degrees, I have picked a different color in that base. Okay, and I did do 1 square to figure out how many grams I'd need for 1 square, and then I did the math to figure out how many of that square I'd need, so when I ordered my yarn, I would have it ready for when I needed it. Okay. This is all kind of complicated, but temperature blankets are super fun, super easy, neat ways to kind of not only have a blanket, but to mark an important event. Okay, and I will link Toni Lipsy's videos below. She has excellent videos on how to make a temperature blanket and things to think about. And she's just a fabulous maker and designer. So I will link her. So anyway, this is the first one, and I would love to make a lot of progress on this during my Blanket Binge week because my son Ian, he graduates in May and is going to be gone off to college, which he just got accepted to, yay, in the fall. So I need to get this done. So I am thinking I'm going to make a goal to do 2 to 3 of these little squares a day during the Blanket Binge week. And I think that's totally doable because they only take 20 to 30 minutes for me to do. They're pretty easy. All right, so that is blanket number 1. in my super cute cat bag. Okay, blanket number 2 is something that I've had on the needles for over a year, but I love, but it is knit. Okay, this is kind of frightening, but it is a blanket knit on size 0 needles. I do not know what I was thinking when I cast it on, because that is ridiculous. Who knits a blanket on size 0 needles? It's going to take me half a century, but it looks beautiful and I love the gauge of it. So it's just not going to be, I'm going to purposefully not make it a huge blanket. It's going to be a smaller blanket for kind of a one person. But it is the Jelly Roll Blanket by Kay Jones. And you can see, I got to back up here. There's a little glare. It's kind of sunny this morning. But it was supposed to be for me. It is sort of a scrappy blanket. And this is the front side where you have this neat ribbing or neat slip stitch that goes between. So for this one, it is a paid for pattern on Ravelry. You do so many stitches across for your column. You do a whole column, or you can stop if you want to put the stitches on a holder or something, and then you go back and you do the next column. So I have gotten, whoop, my things are getting stuck. I am on my 4th column at the moment, and I think this is going to be my, I can't decide if it's going to be my width or my length. I'm thinking the width, but maybe I will get to a point where I think it's just too big or too much. So we'll see. But this one, I am doing all kinds of pastel colored. This is in my Silver Shed USA bag. I am doing all kinds of pastel colored minis. A lot of them are from the Row 1 yarn subscription box where you get 10-gram minis that my kids got me one year for Mother's Day. Oh, there we go, the light's being weird. So that is blanket number 2, and I would love to work on that. Now that one isn't quite as simple as just like saying I'm going to do 2 squares. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of set a timer. I'm going to set a timer and say I'm going to do this for half an hour. So it's up to you. If you have a lot of blankets, I would recommend that if you want to make a lot of progress. Maybe if that works for you, jot down how many minutes you'd like to spend on each so you have a goal. It doesn't mean you have to stick with it, but it gives you a framework for what maybe you'd like to get done, and it might help push you to get a little more done. Of course, the holidays also can be very unpredictable, so remember to be kind to yourself. You are not behind in this make-along. You are exactly where you need to be. Okay, so that was 3. Blanket number 4 is a blanket that has been on the needles. Oh goodness, I don't even know. I'd have to look. Probably 4, 5 years. It's definitely pre-COVID. And this one, you know, I'm not 100% certain that I want to totally continue it. I mean, I like it a lot, but gee, look, I even stopped in the middle of a hexagon. This is the barrel blanket. It is a hexagon blanket. Whoop. And it is a really cool blanket. You make these tiny little hexagons, and I think they take me like 30 to 40 minutes to make one. So it is a little bit of time consuming for this tiny little hexagon, but it is also super, I say super a lot, it is also a very cool blanket. You know, so I like it. So I have it about the same length, but I just haven't done width. So this too, I think I'm going to pick certain days, and I am going to pick like how many squares I want to do. For sure, I want to do 1 square a day. Okay, that is the minimum. I want to do 1 square a day because I really do like it, but I just have too many blankets on the needles, and it just doesn't get done. All right. This one also is on like size 2 DPNs, and so it's kind of fiddly because you start wide. It is free pattern, so I'm not giving away secret stuff. You start kind of on the edges and then you work your way in. So it's a little putsy. But I have lots of scraps in my reused sheet bag here that I can use for it. Okay, so that is numero 4. Let's see, we got 5, 6, no. 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm losing count. Oh, 3. That was number 3, not 4. Here is number 4. This one I started with the plan that it was going to be a Christmas gift. Well, of course that didn't happen because it's a big project. Ooh, I need to remember when I go to take the needles. And I will notice that I have taken the needles off of this one because I used it for something else. This is going to be a cozy garter blanket, loosely fashioned after the cozy memory blanket from Molly of a Homespun House. And it is simply a garter stitch blanket holding 2 strands of fingering double. So I am holding a Berry Fun Yarns single ply barley with a larger skein of something else. So I think I have some knit. This is a Knit Picks Hawthorne colorway. I have, can't remember what the other ones are, but it's linked to my project page. But I picked out 4 of these bigger skeins in the purple, blue, and green category. And I have 4 of these. So I was just going to knit until I ran out of yarn. That was the plan. I was going to fade in one skein to the next. So obviously I'm not getting this done for Christmas this year, but hopefully I can get it done and have it for a Christmas gift for next year. So that's the plan on that one. And look at my super cute stitch marker, which tip is when you're doing this, give yourself a progress keeper on each of your projects at the beginning of Blanket Binge week, and then you can see really how much progress you're making. I always find that when there's something showing my progress, I get a lot more motivated to feel like I'm making something. I'm getting somewhere. I'm not just stuck in the same place. Also helps when I do sleeves on a sweater. All right. Now we have the last non-advent calendar, and this one is actually quite far along. It is a granny stripe blanket where I am holding 2 strands of fingering double, or I am using a DK weight yarn by itself. And this one I would love to have finished, to have downstairs. We just got some new, we got 1 new Chase Lounge, and another one is coming in next week. Actually tomorrow. So I can't wait. I really need, and it's kind of a dark, like navy kind of gray color. So I would really love to have this cozy blanket down there. So this one, you can see, is quite far already. And it's folded in half. So this is a big blanket. Now, I have this problem with blankets is that I cast them on and I start working and I want to finish them and I'm like, oh, but it's already so big. I should just end it. And then I end it and I say, oh, I really wish I would have made this bigger. So this blanket, I have told myself I'm not going to do that. I'm going to keep going until it is longer. So I think I'd like it to be kind of twice the length it is right now. This is about half as big as I would like it. So would love to make some progress on this one. And this one, like I said, I'm holding mostly a skein of undyed bare yarn with a scrap mini that is in the lighter pastel color range. You can see a theme here. I have 4 boys, so I was in the mood to make something a little more feminine, and I wasn't in the mood for dark colors when I cast on most of these blankets, which is just fine with me. All right, so that is that blanket. And then the last 2 I'm going to share, one of them is another granny stripe blanket. And this one is just a tiny blanket for myself to kind of have on my lap, just to give me a little extra warmth, maybe sleep close to me to give me a little extra comfort at night. And it is with my Berry Fun Yarns Advent Winter Cozy Countdown Kit. And I am on day 17. So today is the 19th of December, right? 18th of December. So I'm not too far behind on this one. So that is this one. And I would really love to finish this one by the end of the year because I have been pretty good at keeping up with crocheting. This is a crochet pattern. It is the Granny Stripes pattern by Lucy of Attic 24. Same pattern that I used on the larger Granny Stripe blanket. but I would love to keep up with this, to have this done by the end of the year, but we will see. And then the very last one is a modification that I made. It is Kay Jones of the Bakery Bears. They have a Patreon page, Dan and Kay do, where you can support them monthly, and in return they give you more content. You get some exclusive patterns, and one of the patterns is called the Pixie Dust Cowl pattern. And I loved the design of it so much, but I wanted it in a blanket instead of a cowl. So what I did is I opened it up flat in my mind, and I added a couple extra repeats to make it bigger. And I'm using that pattern design for a pixie dust blanket out of my Lavender Loon Advent Countdown. Actually, it's a winter solstice countdown. So I am not as far on this one. This one is so fun to do because it is a simple 4-row pattern repeat, and I do those 4 rows 5 times for each of my colors. But this also is going to be a cozy blanket. Now I don't know if I'm going to have enough yarn in my 21 days to finish this blanket, but I would like to make some progress on it. I love Sam of Lavender Loon. She's actually one of my friends and in real life, and so I will have plenty of other yarn of hers that I could add in 20 grams from other skeins, because I love to make socks out of her yarn, and then I usually have about 20 grams left, so it'll be perfect for that. So I would love to work on that too. Okay, so that's sort of a roundup of what I'm going to be working on during Blanket Binge week, but I would love to hear what you're going to work on. So please, if you are interested, comment below, share what you're working on, join the Discord channel for Very Fun Yarns. I would love to see you over there and get to know you, and hashtag us on Instagram, where you can find me as Very Fun Mom. So be sure to follow me, because I am hoping to post my progress on my blankets as well. Okay, I think that's it for today. It's sort of a shorter episode, but I wanted to get you the details so that you could get your blanket projects lined up to join us for the Blanket Binge week. So I will be coming to you again probably shortly after the first of the year with my Blanket Binge update and all of the winners of our Blanket Binge make-along. Thanks so much for watching, and be sure to hit the thumbs up button if you liked this video, and to subscribe if you haven't done so already. And I will see you next time. Take care, everyone.